Welcome to my podcast. My name is Luke Pace, and I am honored to have a returning guest on the show, the victorious GOAT, James Padmore. GOAT James, welcome back to the show.
Hey, how's it going? It's an honor to be back.
It wasn't long ago, really, only maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago, you were on the show previewing what we knew was going to be a really exciting fight between you and your opponent, Adam Caldwell at Brawl in the Burgh 17 for 247 Fighting Championships. Both of you guys were 2-0, both with knockouts, so combined 4 knockouts, and then you got the knockout. So we kind of knew that this fight was going to be exciting. Let's back up a little bit before you got in there. Talk just a little bit about what excitements and what thoughts you had going in, like when you were in the back, warming up, walking down, because obviously this was slugger versus slugger.
Yeah. Believe it or not, it was a terrible warm up. I was real flat. I wasn't feeling the energy, but I ended up getting it done. I was just going through in my head like everything that I seen in his previous fights, and I was like, look out for this, look out for that, and it's weird. He didn't really do anything he used to do, so I don't know. But all in all, it was a good fight.
Well, I think that's also kind of good, and you know this, you're an undefeated 3-0 prospect, just all knockouts. But I think it's probably kind of a good it's probably kind of a good experience to kind of feel flat in your warm up and still go out there and have a great performance, because there will be another warm up where you feel a little off, because this is the fight game. Things are tough. I noticed. I mean, Adam Caldwell is an incredible guy. Used to, and I still think he did. He's got really good kicks. But one thing you presented that his other opponents didn't, and when I was talking to your coach, Mike Wilkins, he mentioned you are great on the ground. We haven't really seen it, but your jiu-jitsu, he mentioned that you're great at jiu-jitsu. It was in the interview I did with him. I wrote it down, and he said, James is great at jiu-jitsu. He just knocks people out so quick you can't get to appreciate it, or something like that. So, but you did a little bit more of grappling, wrestling in the first round. Obviously, you're a striker, but how did you feel going both striking and grappling, because you really combined it well in the first round?
Well, first things first, Mike said something nice about me. That's hilarious.
That was probably supposed to be confidential. Probably that was supposed to be confidential. Yeah. Oops.
He's never living that down now. But back to your previous question. It was weird. It just all blended very, very nicely. It just felt natural. That might just be my game plan from here on out. It might just be my strategy.
I think that's a great strategy. It also, you're an incredible athlete, fighter, but you're also a product of Stout Pittsburgh and the effort that Mike Wilkins and Coach Will Morrell, put into you and everybody, all your training partners and all that. So I think it makes perfect sense that you're starting to feel your game plan start to feel natural for you, which again is sort of the goal, particularly, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but you've now reached the vaulted high refined air of advanced amateur as a 3-0. So can't wait to talk to you about kind of what you're looking forward to that. But so the first round, you talked about things going very smoothly and kind of working together, both striking and grappling. You had a couple really exciting on the feet rock'em sock'em exchanges, but not too long. He threw, you threw, but you also had some really great grappling. By the second round, how confident did you feel? You ended up getting the knockout flat 18 seconds into the second round, so barely the second round had started. What did you think about? What did you feel like coming off that stool into the second round?
This is gonna sound funny, but I was just like, all right, this is it. We're just gonna grapple for three rounds. Like, it's gonna be boring. I don't care as long as I win. And then he did do something that he did in his previous fights, and I wanted to test it. And I guess I'll tell you, he switched to his southpaw stance, and for some reason, I didn't feel like he was confident in his southpaw stance, like defensively. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna crowd him. And that's exactly what I did. I crowded him. I threw the right down the middle. I think he thought I was going to grapple, because that's what I did the first round, right? So he dropped his hands, and then 18 seconds later, that's all she
Yeah.
wrote.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, that does make a lot of sense. It's also great fight IQ to recognize that a change in stance might have shown a weakness. And I mean, I've seen Adam Caldwell fight, called all three of his fights now, and you pointed out something that a lot of strikers, and he's obviously a great striker. He's been training his whole life,
Yeah.
a lot of different
Yeah.
martial arts, but a lot of strikers, understandably, really work on striking forward. But it's a different world when you strike backwards or defensively. Like what you
Yeah.
were pointing out. It's a completely different, and a lot of times that takes a lot longer. Obviously, he's a very experienced striker, but that takes a lot longer to develop and fine tune from a non-dominant stance like southpaw if you're not a natural southpaw. So, you put him like fully out. I know you've had all knockouts, but is this your first full out knockout, or have all of them been TKOs? I mean, he was actually out and stiff on this one. Of course, he recovered, and we wish him the best in how he does in the future. But what was it like to like put him stiff? Because when you were finished, he was laid out.
Yeah. All the knockouts are always a blur. Like you hit someone and then they accidentally fall, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, well, I guess he's knocked out. This time around, I was a little concerned, because I've never seen someone like stiff laid out in front of me like that. But I had to get on with my business and do what I had to do with the mic and all that other stuff. But yeah, he was fine. We talked backstage. I offered to get him a beer. I told him to come train with me whenever he wanted to. He was outside talking with his family. Yeah, he was fine. He was up and walking around and all that.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, man, that's always great.
Yeah, great,
It's always
great
great to see.
competitor.
Yeah, he's a really nice fighter. Been training primarily through his family. His uncle has been training him, so it's a real family affair, and that's very nice of you. One of the things that Stout, that Stout really has is that tight knit family feel. So I'm sure that'll be great if he shows up there. Let's talk about what you said on the mic and kind of what your excitement. You might not remember it all word for word, but what was your excitement level and kind of what statement did you make? You made such a great statement that your coach, the 247 reigning coach of the year, Coach Mike Wilkins, told you you're done. Get out of there, because he liked what you said so much, and I heard him saying, "Put the mic down. You're done. You're done." What did that feel like, being able to command? Because you have a very commanding presence in how you fight. You also have a very commanding presence on the mic.
Believe it or not, that's just that's a normal day for me. Like when I get hyped enough, like that's just how I talk. um, I I did have a few things I wanted to say, and it all came together nicely. I don't know if I know how to explain it. It's just what I do, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. And yeah, a lot of it does come from the emotions. You're a very effervescent, a lot of energy, a lot of smiles. So that type of charisma on the mic makes a lot of sense for sure. And basically, you're you're a force to reckon with at 205. I think is basically what you're saying. You've got 3 fights, 3 knockouts. You're ready to take on anybody. Let's talk about advanced amateur rules. You got to watch later in the night your teammate Jeff Magan with advanced amateur rules, as well as your teammate Lucas Siebert with advanced amateur rules. Both of them won their respective belts, which is really exciting. 145-pound belt and 205-pound belt. What are you looking forward to now that you can fight advanced amateur within the state of Pennsylvania? It means a longer fight, 3-minute rounds, no shin guards, and ground and pound as far as close fists go on the ground. What do you kind of look for, and are you excited about having now watched advanced amateur fights? And of course, now you can kind of start picturing what you might be able to do with the bigger rule set.
Basically, I'll be in there and I'll be able to act more freely. Like he's on the ground, don't hit him. These are like things I'm telling myself. Is he up enough? Can I hit him? Right now he's fully up. Like you should have hit him. Like I don't have to do that anymore. Just hit him. It's that simple. But yeah, I think the ground and pound will help out my grappling a lot more, threatening the strikes. They make a mistake, arm bar, headlock. those type of things. I'm very excited, and I'm what's what I'm trying to look for. I guess I want to prove to myself again that like I am tough enough to do this without
Mm.
the extra safety on, the extra safety gear. So, but yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure you'll feel it. Your first shin on shin contact. I would guess as people progress into advanced amateur that you do some type of shin hardening or something to kind of get your shins used to the contact. Is that something I've known gyms that have actually, taken little sticks or maybe something to kind of beat on the shin to numb it up or get the nerves desensitized. Is that something you've seen, or is it just kind of? I've seen guys also trade leg kicks back and forth, working up and down the shins and the legs to kind of get that body hardening. Some people do it, some people don't. What are your thoughts when you go shin guardless? Do you think that's something you're going to kind of get your body ready for?
Well, we did do it one time, just kicking the legs with what you just described, but mostly Coach Will and I think Izzy said this before. All you need is to hit the bag and
Mm.
crack pads, and that's all you need, really. I have done a couple sparring sessions with just shins, and no shin pads, and it wasn't much different. It wasn't much different.
Sounds like you'll be
I'm pretty
ready.
good.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm pretty
sounds
good
like
at
you're
checking
fine.
kicks.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's,
yeah,
but yeah, I actually do remember that quote now that you're talking about. I think it was Izzy because they asked a high level UFC champion a bunch of questions, and you're right. If you're not wearing a shin guard and you're kicking heavy bags and things like or even pads and you're cracking full go, that does obviously red up the shins and make them tougher. For you, you're a staple now. All three of your fights are for 247. What are you looking forward to? 247's got a fight card coming up in October. We can't predict the future. We don't know what's going to happen, but is that something you're at least targeting to consider jumping on? And that October card will be at the Meadows Casino for the October 247 event.
yeah. I've always wanted to fight at the Meadows Casino. I think that'd be a great opportunity for one, and for two, um, when it, I don't know if you brought up the title, but I'm not even looking at the 205 title right now because my teammate has it. I'm moving down to 85, so if that's available, then I would love to win it there.
Okay,
So
well, let's
yeah,
talk about your upcoming move to 185. Yes, I actually did not ask you about the title because I wouldn't want to in any way insinuate that you'd be taking on your teammate or trying to create a gym beef. We've seen sort of
yeah.
that fall apart at the highest level with John Jones and
Gilbert Burns, Tamara
yeah,
Usman.
yeah. We just did that. And I think there's times where it's like, it probably didn't need to happen. So obviously, hats off to Jeff Magan. He's going to go back and wrestle. And I think the plan that he has said is he's going to wrestle another year at Pitt and then look to turn pro, in the summer of next year. Let's talk about your potential. Obviously, that's a future thing, but what makes you feel comfortable and confident about, trajectorying down to 185 at some point in the future?
I feel like I'm supposed to be a 185er. When I died down to 205, there's still some water weight I can lose. I mean, maybe that might help with the power, but I don't know. I feel like I think 185 is my rightful weight class, and I would love to accept that challenge.
Well, to me, that makes perfect sense. As soon as we finish here, I'm going to text Jim Mooney. And of course, he always watches these shows. Hi, Jim, the head matchmaker for 247. And I'm going to say, hey, Go James is thinking 185, but obviously that's something that your coaches, particularly Mike, that's something that you guys decide on and figure out when does going to 185 make sense? Does it make sense to take a fight that's not a title fight to kind of see what 185 is like and then try to get a belt, whatever it is? I'm here for it. I had no concept that I should have been asking about you potentially going down, knocking out big, strong guys like Adam Caldwell obviously shows that you've got the power, but clearly you got to find the size that works and the weight class that works best for you. So if it's 185, that is you would be an exciting addition to 185 for sure. Did you ever fight above 205? Did you ever have like a 210 catch weight or something, or a 220 catch weight? Or have you always been 205?
It was 215 my very first fight. And that's why they had me ranked in the heavyweight division, because I fought there once. I think I'm like third in the heavyweight division, and I'm like I've never fought like a real heavyweight, so like I feel like I shouldn't be there, but I'm there, you know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you specifically about that because I saw in the Tapology rankings that you're ranked as heavyweight. But even though in boxing there's some differences and things, in MMA, once you're 206 and up, it's heavyweight 206 to 265, which I have said for many years. We've seen Stipe. Stipe was in like the 230s, low 240s when he was fighting as a heavyweight. And so I think personally there should be either a 225 in the UFC, or maybe like a 230, 235. That would allow the 240ers, the 235ers to fight at that 225, 230, and that would allow the big boys that cut to make 265, fight those other big boys like the Ngannous and etc. But certainly that's a very exciting. You at some point in the future could very well be ranked at heavyweight, light heavyweight, and middleweight, if you go in that direction. So very exciting. I think we'll wait and kind of see if you're back on the show in October to talk about your upcoming fight. If it happens to be 205, then obviously we'll talk about that. If it happens to be you cutting down to 185, then we'll talk about that. But it is exciting to know that that's a potential for you. Let's wrap up with, for you, could you give the best moment or emotion that you had during your fight, before, during, or after? And can you then pick a highlight from either of the, or actually just your card? Could you then pick a highlight as a fan from your card? So the best moment from your perspective and the best moment as a fan, because that 247 Brawl in the Burgh 17 had a lot of exciting moments, you of course being one of them.
I feel like I had the most exciting moment with the knockout. Honestly, I feel like that's the knockout of the year. I'm putting the stamp on it. That's the knockout of the year. Okay. That was definitely the knockout of the night, But from like a fan perspective, it was weird. I felt more nervous for my teammates fighting, right? Like Jeff won his belt. I was up in my chair like, oh, let's go. Ran to the back. I'm like, Jeff, you did it. He's just like, yeah. Where's your belt, Jeff? That's over there somewhere. All right. You got Lucas in the back. He's he won, and he showed some emotion. I've never seen Lucas show, and he deserved it. He went through some adversity, a little bit of adversity. He had people DMing his opponent, talking trash about him. I hope you beat him and all that stuff. And what did Lucas do? He went out, he showed his heart, and he won his belt. Like,
yeah.
Oh man, but I guess I couldn't put one. I can't put my finger on one of them. God, James Leto. Yeah, James Leto. Yeah, he choked someone out.
There you go.
There it is.
Yeah. That putting a guy. You put a guy stiff with your hands. He put a guy stiff with a nice arm triangle choke. So very exciting.
Yeah.
Always nice when James gets in there. But I just realized, when you talked about having knockout of the night and having a potential knockout of the year contender, which I agree. I'll take this time to say that the 247 award show will probably be sometime in early January, like it was January 5th last year. And that's just so exciting now to see gyms represented, and of course, amateur fighter of the year and knockout of the year. But let's talk about the fact that it was announced on one of the Pittsburgh Combat podcasts. It was announced that the Meat Bucks are back. The Meat Bucks being from Strip District Meats. Those guys are incredible. They love MMA. And the head guy, or one of the guys from Strip District Meats, is going to be handing out, I think it's $100 or $200 in Meat Bucks, a gift card to the knockout or the fight of the night. I think it's the fight of the night or knockout of the night. So, you didn't know of this? Oh boy!
I know.
Okay, yeah. So, I know for sure he does some type of gift card that is then spent in the shop, on the meat. It's a gift certificate, and he did it for the first time. I think it's been one show. I think it was the April show. Might have been the last two shows, but I think it was just the April show because there was a winner there, and on the mic, and I thought he was calling for, let me get those meatballs. Let me get those meatballs. I was like, what is he? Why does he want meatballs? But I found out he was saying meat bucks. Let me get those meat bucks.
Bucks, yeah.
Meat bucks. And afterwards, I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. But hey, I thought, well, maybe the guy just likes meatballs. So that is exciting. So what would you say? Because they do take it seriously, and I'm not on the inside of who wins that or anything. And they'll do a show at some point on the Pittsburgh Combat Podcast with Ryan and Hunter and and the gentleman from Strip District Meat. So what would your case be for the why you were the knockout of the night or the fight of the night or the fighter of the night? I guess I should say fighter of the night for Brawl in the Burgh 17, because I think you're definitely in the running. So let's have you stump a little bit for those meat bucks. Meat bucks.
I want to say I'm the fighter tonight, but you gotta give it to Lucas. He fought a very tough opponent and all that, and he pulled it out. Yeah, I feel like he's the gold standard of Stout. Like everyone should strive to be as good or better. But if it's just knockout of the night, I'm your guy.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
To be honest with you, I think I had the only knockout. So.
Pure knockout. You might be right, because there was a lot of submissions. Yeah, you very well might be right. I just rewatched it on 22 The Point. Did you get a chance to rewatch yourself when it was on TV on 22 The Point, or did you know people that were hitting you up like, hey, I got to see you on TV? Because that's kind of a cool experience. It's great when it's on pay-per-view. It's great when people come in person, of course, that's the best. But it's also cool that it's going into thousands of people's homes in their living room,
Yeah. I had a training partner that went to his wife's parents' house, and they had the fight on, and apparently they loved my fight, and they were talking about it or raving about it, and then they told him about it, and he was like, oh yeah, that's my boy. I hold pads for him. That, like, we're on the same fight team.
Oh.
So that was pretty cool. I told my parents to watch. I don't know if they watched. It's whatever. But yeah, it's just cool to get my name out there, I guess.
Yeah, it is kind of a cooler thing. And to your point, you'll make connections that you don't even know are making connections. Like it's kind of cool that a family was talking about how great your fight was, not even knowing that their son was connected to you in some way. And that is kind of the power of the TV side, is people start seeing you more as like they can be a fan of without knowing. Because a lot of times, which is great, people come to fights in person because they have a gym to root for or a fighter. They're there for a particular reason. Whereas people put on fights in their living room just to be, watch fights in their living room. So it is kind of a cool dynamic to have people watch it on TV. It's been incredible, as always, having you on the show. I can't wait to see what's next for you, particularly if you do get on the next or the October card at the Meadows, which would be incredible. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Thanks for being entertaining, both as a fighter and a guest on MMA Fancast. I'm Luke Payson from MMA Fancast with Coach James Padmore. Thanks so much, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. You take care.